I want a ceasefire, and I want the lifting of the siege now. There are many.
So she wants the lifting of the siege now. Okay. How about you talk to Egypt, because they also border Gaza? And how about you talk to Hamas, who keeps infiltrating explosives and weapons and rockets and money into Gaza so it could be used against Israel? I want you to do that, and we will do that once that one is resolved. What would you say? Yeah? Okay. Today we're watching more pro-Palestine protesters protesting at pro-Palestine protests and knowing absolutely
nothing.
But we love that, don't we? This is another great video by Trigonometry. And yeah, let's I don't want to delay the video, so let's watch the video. Yalla. Magic.
What brings you here to the protest?
I've just come here to show solidarity with the Palestinian people because they're having such a terrible time in Gaza, and they're being slaughtered, and their children are being slaughtered, and their homes are being destroyed, and things could be different. That part of the world could be living in peace and democracy, and instead we're having this bloody great war. And I came here to show solidarity, and now I find that the police around here are starting trouble by arresting young people with placards.
What are they arresting them for?
They've arrested one young person, they've arrested in there, and he's been there since I got here, which is about nearly an hour, and they won't let him go. And he's got something written on his placard which says, okay, it says...
Probably Intifada Revolution.
Zionism is like Nazism. Something like that. That's a second-hand comment. I didn't see it. Somebody told me that's what he'd written.
And you mentioned you think that...
You don't arrest people for that. You don't arrest people for that. You might argue with them. You might say, are you sure that's true? He's a young person. He's maybe made a mistake. But honestly, this is not good policing. I've seen good policing on...
This is not good protesting, let me tell you that. You are just standing there saying for Intifada Revolution, calling for the destruction of your own people. Because you're not a Muslim. I'm assuming you're not a Muslim. So you call for the destruction of your own people, for the removal of your own people. That is bad protesting, young lady.
All the other demonstrations...
She's not young.
I've been on to support Palestine, I've seen good policing. This is terrible. They've stirred up a riot. Maybe that's what they wanted.
You said that part of the world would be living in peace and democracy. Could be. What would need to happen for that to happen?
If we didn't have a racist state in Israel, if Israel was run as a totally equal democracy, and all Palestinians and all the people in that part of the world could live under an equal rights government.
Just like Jordan is run under equal democracy, and Lebanon is run under equal democracy for all people. Palestinians for 3 generations can't vote, can't do specific jobs. 3 generations in Lebanon. Is Syria an equal democracy? I don't think so. Israel is the most democratic country in the Middle East, giving rights for all of the citizens of Israel. The people living in Judea and Samaria, Area A, are under the Palestinian Authority. They're not even Israeli civilians. So what rights does Israel have to give them? None. It's under the PA, not under us.
We wouldn't have this situation.
The longer it goes on, the more important I think it is for people to show support, because numbers drop off. The way that it's being handled by people in power does need challenging. And clearly there's
who do you mean when you say people in power?
I mean the governments. I mean,
of which country? This country?
This country. Like it's too hard to sum up briefly.
And what would you like to see happen now?
Change. Like, first of all, the ceasefire. That's primarily save lives, and then a 2-state solution, I guess.
A ceasefire doesn't save lives, because when Hamas stays in power, they will keep attacking Israel every year, and it will get us to that situation every single year. So no, ceasefire is not going to work. 2-state solution, let's talk about that, yeah? We offered a 2-state solution in the year 2000. They refused. And how did they refuse? By starting the second intifada. Allahu Akbar, exploding themselves next to crowds, next to civilians. So a 2-state solution is for sure going to work. We also offered another 2-state solution in the year 2008. Again, refused. And 1948 as well. Refused. They're not interested in a 2-state solution. They are interested in min maya al maya, from water to water, Palestine Arabiyya. Palestine is only Arab, only for the Arabs. So when you are there, you're protesting for the ethnic cleansing of the Jews.
Probably.
Two-state solution.
Probably.
Yeah.
I came here today because I'm concerned about the terrorism of the Israeli state
Okay.
in
I thought this sentence was gonna go so well.
invading Gaza, and 198 people have been killed since the ceasefire has ended.
Yeah.
Innocent, unarmed Palestinians.
Oh yeah, for sure, because you have all of those facts in hand. You know everything about Gaza, and you believe everything that Hamas releases and the ministry, the Gaza Health Ministry releases to you. Just eat it like Captain Crunch.
I want a ceasefire, and I want the lifting of the siege now. There are many.
So she wants the lifting of the siege now. Okay, how about you talk to Egypt because they also border Gaza, and how about you talk to Hamas, who keeps infiltrating explosives and weapons and rockets and money into Gaza so it could be used against Israel. I want you to do that, and we will do that once that one is resolved. What would you say? Yeah, okay.
Thousands of people living in very small area. They have got no army. They have got no navy. They have got no air force.
So why attack Israel in the first place if you don't have the capabilities to deal with the consequences of invading a sovereign country and killing 1,200 people? Why would you do it?
Now they have hardly any health care at all because it's been bombed to smithereens.
Because Hamas hides in hospitals and uses the hospitals as infrastructure for their weapons, for their soldiers, for peer entries. So yeah, you have a problem, talk to Hamas.
And they are like fish in a fish bowl being shot at.
And how do you think we get peace now?
We get peace by the United Nations, which is the only organization that is worldwide, pulling together all the Arab nations
She spat on him.
around there who are, excuse my language, halfway up the US arse.
She didn't just say that. Did she just say ass?
To come out of that, to have the sort of sympathy that I have got for the human life that is being destroyed in front of our eyes.
Before the attack on October 7th on Israel,
Yeah.
in which 1,200
Yeah.
civilians were killed, people would argue that was a ceasefire that was broken by Hamas. What would you say to those people?
Well, I would say to those people that Gaza was still under siege. It was still, the people of Gaza were completely controlled by the Israeli government.
Gazans were also bordering Egypt. Why did they not invade Egypt and did horrific things to their females? Why did they not invade them? Ask yourself this question and notice that the only difference between Israel and Egypt is that Israel is a Jewish country and Egypt is a Muslim majority country. That's all. That's why they didn't invade Egypt, because it's a religious issue.
As we've seen, because as soon as it happened, the water was cut off, food was cut off, everything was cut off. They were only allowed, at that time, so many calories a day, controlled by the Israelis.
Well, sure. Quickly, who are you from first?
We're an independent YouTube channel. We go to protests and film documentaries about it.
Independence, okay.
Yeah, okay.
He doesn't even know the size of this guy. He doesn't know.
I take you're suspicious of mainstream TV or
Oh, yeah. Nah,
Yeah, how come?
I call it right-wing TV, man.
right-wing TV?
Nah, they'll cut and edit any and everything you say and just like try to paint a bad picture of you.
Okay.
And if you keep everything clean, then they just won't air it anyway. So,
Which channels are you talking about?
let's say on Freeview, all of them except for Al Jazeera. And above Al Jazeera, the GB News and Talk TV, they're even more right-wing than, say, like the BBC and the Zionist Sky News, for example.
You think Sky News is right-wing and Zionist and BBC
Oh,
as well?
definitely. A 14-year-old had a sign that they didn't quite like. The sign said, ceasefire now, children are not collateral damage. And then a very small writing had said, stop Zio-Nazism. But because the word Zio-Nazi was in there, they didn't like the sign, so they grabbed the 14-year-old. We had a bit of a standoff, and
As they should. As they should. I don't like this sign.
this gentleman and I helped calm things down on our respective sides.
And what would you like to see happen now with the conflict?
Then just stop the airstrikes on civilians. Stop targeting civilian homes, water storage, solar panels, UN schools where civilians are taking shelter.
It's very simple. You want us to stop, release the hostages, Hamas surrenders, it's done. Just do that, it's done. It's very simple. But you won't advocate for it, won't you?
Stop with the airstrikes on civilians. If they really want a war, fight it out in the streets of Gaza City, where they're being hunted by Al-Qassam brigades, who are destroying hundreds of their tanks and killing thousands of their troops. Fight a real war on the ground, which they can't win.
If you were in charge of Israel on October 8th, what would you do?
Well, you have to do a little investigation. You know what I mean? You can't just automatically look to bomb Gaza into oblivion. You got a hostage crisis. Guess what? You might kill some of your hostages, which is exactly what they've done. They've killed scores of them.
So you see October 7th as them breaking out against the occupation?
Resistance. Been a long time coming. Retaliation to many previous massacres in the Gaza Strip. They hit every single military base around Gaza within 6 minutes.
This is not self-defense.
There hasn't been a single massacre in the Gaza Strip, and every single war that started with Gaza was launched by the Gazans by firing rockets or doing October 7th, for example. Every time they tell you the 2008 massacre, the 2014 massacre, these are all wars started by them, by firing rockets into Israel. And if any other country would be in the situation of Israel, they would have reacted exactly the same. And the reason why you're seeing so many bombs being dropped on Gaza, specifically buildings, it's because Hamas uses these buildings to create entry points for their tunnels. Our war is underground, not overground. So in order to get to the underground, we have to get rid of the top layer first, and then we can get to the tunnels.
You know, this is not war. This is. I think they want to kill them all. It's a genocide. It's an extermination
The moment he said, I think, he lost.
of the whole people of Gaza.
And why do you say they want to kill them all?
I think the evidence is there. I think they've already flattened about 60% of the buildings. I think the numbers are about 15,000 now. I'm certain that's a conservative estimate, but the majority of the hospitals have been destroyed. They're not functioning. They're attacking schools. I don't see how
Just so you know, there's 24 hospitals half functioning. So that's a lie.
Gazans can survive unless there's an immediate ceasefire. If I'm a victim of any kind of assault, that doesn't exempt me from the moral order. Now, the Israelis, as I understand it, they regard the IDF as the most moral army in the world. I mean, that's a sick joke now, because they seem to think that the fact that they were victims of this assault, it exempts them from the moral order. Well, that's not the case. So whatever response you make, you have to do so within, I'm a Catholic, there's a just war theory, which is about using legitimate force and not harming civilians and so on. That applies to everybody.
You feel that they're not respecting that?
Certainly not.
I'm a trauma national expert in the UK, and I think one thing that is important is that actually trauma, the mechanism of trauma in the brain, silence people, silence the voice of people. Genocide is what is happening, and in some ways, I think the Western countries are silencing us, not just the trauma that we're observing and absorbing, but also the governments are doing that. As a doctor, as a physician,
How come the majority of the people getting interviewed are white? Only one person so far, or two people, were of brown skin. How come the majority of them are probably liberal, probably very left-wing, and probably have no idea why they're there?
it's very hard actually to be in the position of feeling you need to help people when they come to your unit and they traumatize, but at the same time, what are we doing with this kind of colluding in our governments to a major crime that is traumatizing further human beings?
Talking to a lot of people about October 7th as well, I'm guessing the way Israel is responding seems to be a response to the trauma that they suffered as well.
You know, I'm a bit cynical about that. Every human being is been traumatized one way or another. And I don't think you can excuse your behavior on trauma that you've been suffering, inflicting it to others.
If the same thing would have happened to the UK, which is where this is filmed, I am sure the UK would have done a lot more of a deadlier attack back on their attackers. Israel is being extremely precise with Gaza. You can see it by the ratios. Almost one terrorist to one civilian so far in this war. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. It's one of the lowest ratios in history. And if you can't see that, you're blind. You're blinded by Twitter. You're blinded by Snapchat. You're blinded by TikTok. Open your eyes just a little bit and realize that everything coming out of there is supposed to make you feel emotional. They're lying to your face. Open your eyes get some more sources, and don't rely solely on what Hamas releases. That's it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification button. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Official Sahar TV. Let's go. Protect the Jews, fight the lies.